We have a very specific question from a viewer who pays attention to tax issues. And since we have a lawyer on the panel, the lawyer moderating the program is going to ask the lawyer on the panel about this question. And that is, this viewer from Lakefield notes that the Minnesota State Bar Association has proposed legislation that would eliminate the state deed tax on like-kind exchanges of agricultural land. And if viewers are wondering, what on earth is this all about? I'm not going to go into a long discussion about it, and I'm some decades removed from doing this kind of work. But if you are doing state planning, farm expansion planning, things of that sort, and you have exchanges of agricultural land, but no cash necessarily changing hands, the argument is perhaps we should eliminate the state deed tax. I'm just going to ask Senator Frentz, know anything about this issue? Is that popped up on your radar screen at all?
Well, I've heard about it. I would be fine with it. As you know, with all tax cuts, it carries a fiscal note. So tax cuts are spending. There's a lot of proposals to cut taxes, and I think that would be a good thing to some extent. I would be okay with that one. I think the feature there that I like is we would like to keep as many farmers on the land as we can, and we have ways to make that easier, not harder. I'm also in favor of the beginning farmer tax credit stuff. We worked on that this week, as a matter of fact. And I just, we're not making any more prime farmland. So I kind of like those things. Having said that, there are plenty of Minnesotans who are not farmers. And if you said that this had just to take an example, a $5 million fiscal note, there are other Minnesotans who would say, no, let's use that $5 million for some other tax relief. And, who's to say? I'd be supportive of that. I haven't heard that much about it in my district, by the way, Justice Anderson, more tax committee gossip.
Yes, Representative Swedzinski, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, I agree with Senator Frentz on that. I think, it's whenever you're transferring it, it seems like the caller might be talking a little bit of potentially in the areas of like a 1031 exchange where they're potentially, moving ground, they're selling this piece and retracting it. Some of those taxes are direct cost recapture. So like the actual time that it maybe takes for someone to go in an office and type, but I think they're thinking on something else. So, generally in favor of tax relief and would glad to take a look at the policy. Not super familiar with it though.
Senator Mathews.
Yeah, thank you. Also, it is pretty far in the weeds, and I've not ever served on the tax committee, but just in general, I love tax relief. I love putting more money in Minnesota's pockets. We should do more of that. That's why we're sitting on $18 billion right now that should be in your pockets, but government's sitting on it, and we're trying to urge the DFL to help us put more of that money in your pockets. And this one makes sense. There are so many taxable exchanges that we come across in state law where I just sit there and go, really? We tax that too? Or we, if it's trading one land for another and it's like, we'll count up some value even though there's no actual money going back and forth, and we tax some arbitrary number we pulled up, that makes no sense. So that one, from the sound of it, seems pretty clear cut, and I think it would be a good thing.
The late Gary McDowell, who was a partner of mine, was an expert on tax and probate issues, once tried to explain to me the intersection of some of these tax provisions, both federal and state, and the flow chart that he handed me to explain it to me ran to about 4 pages. I told him I was a trial lawyer, not a tax lawyer, and that was the end of the conversation. Complicated topic, and I appreciate the candor with which our panel has approached it.